America. He has raised the rhetoric on H-1B visas once again. He says American workers will not be replaced by foreign workers anymore. Well, how much more should we worry about it? R. Chandrashekhar, President of NASSCOM, joins in a bit. We'll be joined by Sudin Apte as well. Morning, Mr. Chandrashekhar. Thanks much for joining. Well, what we feared now appears to be kind of closer to taking shape, with President Trump actually speaking, President-elect Trump actually speaking about H-1B visas. Should we worry that a chunk of business might go away?
Well, you know, Lata, this notion that Indian IT workers and particularly H-1B workers go to the US and replace American workers on a one-to-one basis and end up doing the same job in the same way is, I think, a powerful one and an emotive one, but completely mythical and far removed from reality. The reality is that all businesses across the world, including in the US, are under tremendous pressure to adopt technology in order to stay competitive and in order to continue to create jobs. No doubt the US produces a lot of the technologies that the world uses, but it is also hugely deficient in the skill sets that are needed for the adoption of these technologies. All the US government statistics also indicate that. And that's where workers from India actually help in enabling them to transform their businesses. And I think, therefore, what the workers who go there from the IT sector do is to enable that transformation of the business, which enables corporate America to stay competitive and create jobs in the US. Mr. Trump himself, being a businessman, I'm sure, will actually look at all these ramifications from an overall business perspective and from the commitment that they have made to create more jobs in the US. Technology everywhere in the world today, eliminates some jobs and creates new jobs. And the new jobs do require different skills and newer skills.
Yeah, but Mr. Chandrashekhar, they can still make life difficult by making visas more expensive. Even if jobs are not lost, do you see a clear impact on margins?
Well, even if visas are made more expensive, the way it would work is that it would actually add to the costs of getting the resources and the human resources that are so much needed in the US economy. I've talked about the very well documented shortage of skills. What we are concerned about and what we have emphasized repeatedly is that we are very opposed to the discriminatory application of these provisions. And the most important thing is they should be applied uniformly. And we are certainly hoping that when all these aspects of the issue are seen, that a balanced view will be arrived at, keeping all these factors in view.
Sure. We also have Sudin Apte, who joins into this discussion, so let's get him on board. Sudin, the other big issue that everyone is facing is that it's not so much about job loss, but it's also about whether, until you get more clarity on these H-1B visa issue, there could be a further cutback in client spending and pushing forwards of clients' decisions, something that we've seen even before Donald Trump got elected. Would that be your fear as well?
Well, I think, as Mr. Chandrashekhar said, it's some of these points are still speculative. Last time also on your channel I had mentioned, in fact, a couple of times I have mentioned that there is an increasing protectionism and that poses a risk. However, I still continue to believe that as far as offshoring or outsourcing to India is concerned, as far as US and UK are concerned, they have come to a stage where it's no reversal feasible. So I do believe that it's in the interest of the corporates there, and while there may be increase in sort of a procedural delays, increase in visa fees, and some of those overheads for getting a visa, but I don't really think that there will be a total reversal or deporting of people, as some of the sections are talking about. I really don't think we need to worry or press a panic button at this stage. Let's see how it evolves. I do understand that, you know, people like, say, Jeff Sessions have been appointed as Attorney General, etc. So some indications are there that he possibly will be following through one of this promise of his election, though he might have, done a U-turn on some others. But let's wait and watch. I think, you know, it's in the interest of companies. So it's not only Indian IT industry that need to worry about. It's also companies like GE, Citi, Cisco, Microsoft, several other firms who really need to be worried also. So I do believe that, you know, it will taper off, and it may yield only into some measures related to defining the post, you know, justifying why this person is not available in the US, etc. Some of the stuff that you have seen in, continental Europe and Scandinavian countries when you need to send a person from here.
Okay. So then, good morning. So, are you saying that this would be more of an irritant than a massive business headwind?
Well, at this point in time, there is nothing to believe that this will be a massive headwind. So let's, wait for things to evolve. There has been a flip-flop that he has been doing, continuously. I know that there are some indications, some concerns. Of course, businesses need to plan. And there is also other way to look at, this is not new. Some of these things may not be as severe as this, but some of these things, difficulties in getting visas, especially H-1B, has been happening for some time now. And I do believe that industry, in a sense, is preparing itself to handle some of those things. So two options. I know for sure that some of the top Indian IT industry or Indian IT companies are doing. One is, recruiting locals. So you have, not much of a difficulty of H-1B. And second thing is that also promoting nearshore, other components of global delivery, and also push somewhat offshore. So these two things people are trying to do. And as you move to platform, as you move towards, the delivery of technology via not so much person-dependent mechanisms, then some of these things also will help in addressing these issues. So I would surely look at this as a panic button or a massive headwind.
Okay, actually, let me read out what President Trump or President-elect Trump has done with respect to Carrier. Carrier was going to shut down a factory of 800 workers on December 5th, and Donald Trump gave Carrier tax cuts of $7 million if those were not cut and those jobs were not exported. So this is clearly a government-to-company deal that he has struck. Mr. Chandrashekhar, and I'll come to Sudin in a minute on that. You think that this is out of reach, that even with respect to, say, a Disney, a Cisco, wherever Indian companies are predominant, Trump could reach a deal like this?
Well, first of all, there are two important things that we need to keep in mind, Lata. One is that this particular deal with Carrier is a kind of one-off deal. I'm not sure how scalable or replicable that is across the board. But more importantly, from the IT perspective, I think it's a very different situation in the case of a physical plant which manufactures goods and for which workers are available in the US, and therefore the plant being shipped lock, stock and barrel overseas leads to a definite loss of jobs for which American workers are available with the requisite skill sets. It's a very different situation in the case of IT because number one is that there is no manufacturing plant. A lot of the work can be done remotely or can be done at the location. And thirdly, and most importantly, the US is admittedly hugely deficient in terms of people having the requisite skills. And currently, if the statistics are to be believed, which the US government itself has put out, there are likely to be more than 1 million unfilled jobs in IT-related areas by 2018.
Just to wrap up this
so either you get the people...
Okay. Yeah, just to wrap up this conversation, because we are running out of time, the other big issue I wanted to discuss, Sudin, with you, a comment from your end, is on the demonetization impact on digitization and a lot of the cashless beneficiaries. So, a lot of the technology companies are doing well, but one doesn't know what the real scope is. According to you, what kind of potential do you see?
So are you talking about, the companies which are into e-payments and, POS machines, etc.?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I think there is clearly an opportunity. So let me give a little bit detail, if you can allow me a minute. If you look at pre-demonetization announcement, roughly 5% of population was using some or other way, paying via electronically, whether it's a wallets or whether it's a POS, etc. Being the cards, cards being the largest component of that. Now, last 40 days, just by going by FinMin data and Ministry of IT data, that number has grown by approximately 54%, and that clearly creates an opportunity. Now, that number as a percentage of population that is banking on digital mechanisms to pay comes now to around 8.5 to 9%. Our assessment is that in next 18 to 24 months, that number will cross approximately 30%. So almost 1 in 4, 1 in 3 of the population will use some or other way digital payment mechanisms. Now, if you look at arithmetically, we are talking about the market for digital payments growing 5-fold or 6-fold in coming 2 years. Now, obviously, there will be a lot of new entrants and new technologies will pop up and all those things will happen. But some of the companies which are into, especially the companies which are in devices like, swipe machines, POS systems, etc., will see a huge growth, to some extent in next 6 months. But, it will sustain subsequently for that after 6 months also for another, 12 to 18 months. So, do believe that for devices and machine or hardware part of it, there will be a good requirement.
Okay.
Software footprint in payments is not really very big. So, there will be growth, there will be traction, but will be a little lower compared to actual physical infrastructure.
All right, Sudin, Mr. Chandrashekhar, thank you very much for joining us in this one good, one bad discussion. Anyway, for the moment, Orion Pro, Rolta kind of stocks are all higher on this digitization wave. We take a quick break and we are back with our tech gurus.